Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Yep. All right. So, welcome everyone. This is Project Kindle. Well, you'll hear from each of the team members a little bit later. My name's Camille, and I'm going to take you through the first part of this presentation. And let's just get started. There's the link that we'll have again at the end to play the game too, by the way. It's on itch. So, our team is composed of 2 computer science majors, 3 art majors. We have Isaiah, the project lead, who played multiple roles on the development. David, the Unity expert, and he did some visual programming. Taheer, who is really good at cartoon style-y kind of design, so he helped with enemy and character design. Aiden, who did environment and sound art, so gathered some Foley. And myself, Camille, I joined the team a little bit later, and I did some environment work. So this project was developed as the capstone for the game development course, and it was done over the course of the semester. Next slide. So, design. What is Project Kindle? So, it's a 2D platformer, a shooter with a classic kind of game objective feel. It merges together action, exploration, and taking inspiration from Cave Story, an indie Metroidvania game. Like, it has a robot too, so we kind of stole from that. And Banjo-Kazooie, an objective-based 3D platformer you probably know and love. On the right, there are some sketches done by Isaiah for the original pitch. So everyone pitches a game, and Isaiah was the one who thought of it, so he had a lot to do with the design as well as programming. So the girl with the pistol, that's Kindle. She's a robot scientist in the junkyard for whatever reason. And there's creatures called the Onyx that you can see there also in the sketches that she's shooting at. And they're monsters who want to do nothing but just cause chaos, trouble, negativity. For this project, we settled on the Unity engine, and David already had experience with Unity, so we felt like we could kind of use it since it was 2D, and that's easier than Unreal. And we felt it would make it easy for all our members to get their work into the game with little hassle, because animation majors have a class where we do Unity stuff. So, as for gameplay, what do? The player takes control of Kindle, and you're trying to defeat the Onyx, those little enemies that I talked about earlier. They've corrupted the junkyard with their presence. It's just a chill place to vibe, and look at them, they're all running amok. You can see that weapon being deployed on an effigy there. So when they're defeated, they drop a weapon, energy, or heart, so you can kind of collect something after you kill them, like objective-based gaming. And the weapons start at level 1. They can be upgraded to levels 2 and 3, with each step increasing their power. However, if Kindle takes damage, the weapon energy also takes a hit, so there's kind of like, you want to avoid, so you can get not lessen your power. And if the enemies respawn, Kindle's far enough, there's never a shortage of energy, so you can keep on going. As for objectives, there are 3 main objectives. 1, to destroy all 5 of the effigies that you'll see later. They look like Kindle with a funny face. Ooh, and you can find and collect all 3 of the health packs. 1 is hidden in the trash somewhere, so you kind of gotta dig. Junkyard theme, explore, it's fun. And you're also trying to obtain the meteor weapon. You have to use a specific weapon to find it, so go in there and figure it out, little mystery. These objectives can also be completed in any order, so you can just kind of roam around and figure out how to get the game started, how it works for you. And until you get it, doesn't matter what order, and you get a reward as you complete each of the objectives. So, once again, objective-based gameplay. As for the visuals, it's a pretty simple art style for both the characters and the background. Each character sticks to a limited color palette, and we did have a lot of back and forth figuring out how to stick to that color palette for Kindle and kind of just changing the background and enemies around her so she doesn't get lost because she's the main character. The Onyx use a collective of dark colors, that purple, pink, and each character, they stick to something limited for their sprite. The enemies were designed with a junkyard theme in mind. Our other choice was a flower forest, but that would have had to use a lot more green, and I don't know, I guess we just wanted to spice it up. She's a robot, it makes sense. Among the software that we used, A-Sprite becomes very popular. 2 of our artists bought it after seeing Isaiah use it. I'm one of those artists. Fire Alpaca is also another good one that we use. It's a free alternative. And we're just going to go through a quick run through next of some of the art made for the game. Here you can see more Kindle. She has a little scooter there, hover scooter. We were thinking of a bunch of different concepts with like hover scooters and teleporters, so that was just something there. That was her first stage before we simplified her. And next we have Koro, who's the mastermind behind the Onyx. Note the color scheme that matches. He's not in the game itself, but he does exist in the lore, and we'll kind of get to that later about how we didn't really go into getting a boss final like you typically would for a game like this. These are some enemies done by Taheer. Junkyard theme, we got Mech in the box, Maribot, Rata, Bampo Bat, and Icebox, that fridge dude at the bottom. Due to time, not all of them made it in, but the designs are well done though, so we just wanted to show it off, and the color design as well, done by Taheer. And there's also this underground area, and we found background. You can find. Let me respeak. In the underground element area, you can find background elements made by me and Aiden. That junk pile, lovely, is me. And then where you see that fridge, car, that's all Aiden. I did the pallets as well, but the pallets, you see how they look kind of 2D. When I first did them, they're a little bit 3D. So that was one of the challenges we'll get into later of trying to make the game like not two-dimensional because it's 2D. And I also animated the title screen, but you'll see that later. And now we are going to show a little gameplay demo and then just go into more everyone's experience with making the game.
Thank you, Camille. Give me a moment while I set this up real quick. So, hold on. Okay. Share screen. Go live. Okay, I'm gonna be messing around with the sound, so everybody let me know if you can hear it. Oh. Is that a comfortable volume, or should I raise it?
Maybe a little louder.
A little louder, okay. How's that?
We can hear it, but it's still a bit quiet.
So if I, alright, I'll raise it up by. That should be good. Now it should be even. Did it change at all?
I don't know how much it's changed. Let's just.
Shoot. Okay. Hold on. Alright. Right. So this is the title screen made by Camille, as mentioned before. We have an options menu here, so you can control the music volume. It's a little buggy at the moment, so I can't really change it without things messing up in the game. We have credits, which is also a little buggy, but there's my name here. There's David, Taheer, Aiden, Camille, and then sound, Aiden, and me. Right, and let's get into the game. Oh, I gotta adjust my volume on my end real quick. You can still hear the game? Still hear me pretty well?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Alrighty, so we have a welcome player. Mission is to find all 5 FGs on the map and destroy them. With left and right, the arrow keys. This is just the controls. We intended to have a more interactive control section, but we didn't have the time for it, so we'd have to settle for this. Jump with Z and shoot with X. Press A and S to switch weapons. Use C to view goals, weapons, and enemy info. Collect energy to level up your weapon. Find health packs, increase your max health. When a exclamation mark appears above Kindle's head, press down to interact. And have fun. So you can move left and right, aim up, shoot with Z, shoot down, and switch weapons. So I'll just do a quick run through and explain everything that's here. Actually first let me run through the enemies. So we have, these are the sprites for the actual enemies in game. So we have the crawler, the eye drop, the dome, rata, and the stork. The marabot, but we got to change the name. And we have the goals listed before: destroy the effigies, collect the health upgrades, and obtain a meteor weapon. Right. So I'll run around and explain. So these background elements here, like the crane and whatnot, these were made by Aiden, excuse me. So you can shoot things, a little bit of feedback there, collect the weapon energy. Okay. Hold on, I gotta be good at the game too. There we go. So we have the first health back over here. When you find one, you can press down, and it'll show a text box and what happens there. Dome enemy, which David actually programmed, not me. I programmed most of the enemies in the gameplay, but yeah. All the visual stuff is all thanks to David. He worked with the camera and getting all the animations to work for Kindle and whatnot. It's a Mirrorbot. He'll drop things on you if you get too close to him. With a little bit of delay so you can run away if you need to. Yeah, let me bait him out real quick. There we go. Outred, alright. He doesn't drop anything, so it's kind of just a novelty thing, but yeah. Yeah. So as mentioned before, as you level up your weapons, your stuff does more damage. So now this is doing 4 damage per hit instead of 1. Grab more energy. One little note about the dragon is that you can shoot through walls with it. Grab this other health pack. Increase by 5. Make sure I'm not missing anything while he's doing this. Enemies will respawn, so if we go back to the left, which I will after I cycle all the way around, you'll see that the crawler and the eye drops will respawn over there. This guy here. Show some of their attacks. For this one. So I believe we're up to 4 effigies right now. So here's the underground area that was mentioned before. A little rat enemy. We have a little sound effect when you get hit by him. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's a little like cartoon clonk effect. He'll actually jump up to chase you around. There we go. So here's what we were mentioning before about the hidden weapon. So if you shoot with the vector, you see nothing happens. But if you use the dragon breath, it'll light up. And we get this little thing here. Press down on that, and look at that. We got the meteor. And we can shoot rocks now. Explosive rocks. So they'll blow up. And once you unlock a weapon, I probably didn't detail this too much before, it'll show up here on the screen. So before the meteor was locked on the bottom, and now it appeared. We're still missing 1 weapon though, so we'll get that in a moment actually. Just blow this heal up real quick. So that was the last effigy. We get a congratulations, a winner is you, old reference. I'm not sure if anyone's gonna get that. But now we have the Tempest. Shoot cutting whirlpools. So we have a cheat code, non-cheat code that we have to level up your weapons. So this is the meteor at level 2, or level 1 rather. See if enemies respawned up here. If I hit E, it'll level me up real quick, just as a debug tool. See, we have bigger meteorite balls, and get to level 3, we have very big stuff. The bouncing is a little hard to control, but the damage is very nice. Yeah. And for the Tempest, shoots little bubbles out. Does nice rapid damage. Low damage, but you know, it's quick. Level 2 shoots little discs. And level 3, level up real quick. Shoot very fast, little whirlpool things. So as you saw, the rat down there respawned. And if we dig around the trash a little bit, hit up this little corner, what's here? We found the health pack in the trash, like Earthbound style. Get our last health upgrade, found all the health packs, and we get even more health, because why not? And I believe that is it that we have. Did I miss anything, anybody? Team members? I don't think I did.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you got everything.
Yeah, you can see the Tempest here now with its description. Each weapon will show how much energy you have here too. And yep, we got all the goals done. Yeah. So we'll switch back to the presentation. Let me exit out of this. There we go. Let me get this back up. Here, let me do it this way. Slideshow. Make sure I can see this. Live. All right, can everybody hear me and everybody see this?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so as for challenges, we figured it'd be better to show the game off first and then describe some of the stuff we learned. So sorry if it's a little like unorthodox compared to other presentations. So, challenges. Time was definitely a big factor on what we should focus on for each sprint. There wasn't a lot of time for feedback really on each sprint. So, like a lot of the work that was done, we'd have to put it in and then immediately move on to the next thing. The original plan was to have a boss at the end for the player. Like the player would get all these upgrades and build themselves up and get decked out, and then fight the boss with all the stuff they acquired, or they could fight the boss without any stuff and challenge themselves. Eventually, we had to cut that just due to time and yeah. Let's see. Excuse me. Player controls. So when we first uploaded the game on itch.io, we got a lot of feedback on the camera and the player. So the player felt a little too floaty, and some of the jumping was a little off. And so we went back in and fixed that. It was very good that we put our stuff on itch.io first, because when you're working on something for so long, it's very easy to tunnel vision on getting used to how the game works because you're working with it for so long. So outside perspective is very helpful in terms of that. And tackling problems in Unity. So using Unity's biggest strength is its visual approach to game development. It's like super visual. Like the scripting is like fantastic. You can even customize how you want the editor to work in some cases. However, it does encourage a very top-down approach into game development, and it works for. There's benefits to that, and there's also benefits to a bottom-up approach. I am a bottom-up developer. David is more of a top-down developer, and it came to a head a few times, but we figured out a nice little mix to make sure the stuff in the project still gets done. Sometimes I would switch to the top-down approach. Sometimes David would work from the bottom-up approach. And it's a very eye-opening thing. So I think each of the team members here will explain what they learned. Start with Camille.
Yes, so I came into the game a little bit late because we had different original teams, so I spent some time trying to pick up a sprite to learn pixel art. It's very cool, love the software, but it's a little, for animation and stuff, it does it in terms of milliseconds, I think, so it was different than what I'm used to. And then also GitHub, I had an internship where I used it and they had to spoon feed me every day, but now I feel like I understand GitHub, so that was kind of a part of it for me. Also, the perspective of the game, because just making sure the volume of it's something doesn't just break the perspective of everything else, like the palettes I mentioned. Isaiah had to go back and touch it up a bit before implementing the final sprite because it looked like a three-dimensional random thing in pixel art in the background instead of something that is a part of world building and it's not supposed to take you out. Also, standardizing file names, exporting image sequences for the title screen. I think the one that I finally did didn't make it in because I couldn't find my folder file because I named it something like title screen alpha background something with a bunch of slashes. So, standardizing names, working with a group, I've learned some things about just organization makes it easier for everyone and everything. But that's it from me. Aiden.
Yeah, working with standardized nomenclature is very helpful. In my case, I was working between two different between Photoshop and Fire Alpaca, and in between the semester, I did switch over. So it was important for me to have consistent naming functions to keep everything working, along with working between a computer at home and a laptop. So that was a challenge for me to get over. And I also learned to provide many options, both in terms of assets and especially for Foley. So I had multiple different hit sounds that I sourced and mixed that Isaiah could pull from when working.
Hello? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
We can hear you.
So I jumped into this project completely blind. I didn't know about any of this stuff, like Unity and GitHub and everything. So, it took some time to get used to, get familiar with the stuff. I started working off of Adobe Photoshop for the most part. After I understood like how we were supposed to design sprites, this is my first time designing sprites, so there's that. Um, I was kind of hesitant to use a sprite. I switched over later throughout the semester, later in the semester, and found it was surprisingly easier than Photoshop for the most part because it's already done for you. The sprite is kind of like format is already there rather than doing it manually on Photoshop. So, I mean, it was a nice change of pace whole semester. Yeah, that was cool.
Hello, all. So, of course, I'm David, and working on this project let me learn Unity a lot more, and just made me realize that even though Unity has its drawbacks, it's still an amazing engine to work with. I love working with Unity. I already had experience with it before this project, but working on this project with it made it's only further cemented how like good this engine is for my type of coding, as it has stated. Um, so yeah, learning Unity was a very nice thing. I also learned of course, the general game dev flow and learned how to work in a team and make compromises, keep a cool head no matter what happens. With me and Isaiah sort of coming from different backgrounds, there were some situations where we had to figure out how to make a team implementation on some things. Like for example, we had different ideas how to implement the movement system, but it was very nice and interesting to how we made compromises and found a way to work together as a team and avoid butting heads on stuff and to overall just make decisions that would be better for the game. And also learning how to use Git on group projects and to resolve more conflicts. This project has taught me that Unity with Git sucks a lot if you don't set it up properly. Unity does have this built-in tool called Smart Merge or YAML Merge, which is used to fix scene merges, which is the biggest thing about working with Unity with the version control. It's the actual scene. Git doesn't like messing with it a lot. And there is a way you can set it up, but I only learned how to set it up like a week before today. So it's Unity and Git can work together. You just have to properly set it up first at the beginning of the project before you do anything. But overall, this is a very nice experience. I liked working on this project, and I think it turned out pretty good.
All right, thank you. And as for me, definitely gained a better understanding of the Unity workflow, its advantages and its shortcomings. Actually, my most familiar program is Game Maker Studio, so I did want to try out Unity just because it's a different engine than compared to what I've been using for like the past few years. I do see how it would be useful for like game jam stuff because it's very easy to put stuff into a game and see stuff work. But would I use it for a bigger project? That's something I got to mess around with a little more. Gain insight into different types of development and artistic approaches. So, like me and David mentioned several times, the top-down versus the bottom-up approach. There are benefits and there are disadvantages to each. Definitely got to pick where you want to, where it's appropriate to implement which approach. Learn some valuable lessons on what it takes to lead a team effectively. I made sure to explain all the choices I made as much as I could. I made sure that everybody was working. I made sure to keep the work fun. Tried to find everyone's strengths and have them work on tasks that serve those strengths and help them build that. And lastly, made aware of my perfectionism and how to control it. I had to hold myself back a lot because I recognized, like at the very start, if you mentioned this to my teammates a lot. This class isn't about making a masterpiece. It's about building team development skills. I'm used to working on independent projects where I have complete control over stuff. And I made an effort to have my project picked so that I can get leadership experience and see what it's like to lead a team. I definitely learned a lot of things. Honestly, like I would do this class the rest of my life. Like it's a lot of fun. I do want to see like the different ideas of what people will come up with. I'd like to be like a leader again, or like just a normal member. It seems like very fun. Yeah. In closing, so we didn't. Of course, we didn't. We had to cut out some stuff for the game, but the heart of the game is there. We set out to make a fun game with objectives to complete, and at the end, we have a fun game with objectives to complete. So, with that, it was time well spent. Thank you to my group members for everything, all their effort. And thank you all for your time. Do we have any questions or comments? I can't see the Discord chat, so y'all gonna have to help me out.
Yeah, MN Chino asked, does the game run on a Kindle?
A Kindle, nice one. We have not checked that. We can get back to you on that. Are we able to post a link in general? Somebody asked that. I see that.
This art was made by Taheer, by the way. He did a really good job on it.
Yes, Taheer made this. Very nice.
Yeah, it took a few hours.
Yeah,
It's
came out really well.
Thank you. It's hard to draw humans. I don't know. I'm used to drawing monsters, so. I mean, she's not a human; she's a robot. But you get it.
I got you. Is that all for questions?
We have a question here. How did your team handle enemy AI?
Enemy AI. So the basic approach was we would Tahir would come up with like just very simple behavior patterns, and I think all of them, like all the enemies work on just a basic state machine. So they'll have a sleeping state where they don't do anything until Kindle gets close. Then they'll have like a chase state or like an awakened state, where they'll actually chase Kindle or like just move around it all. And based on different like collision or like player checks, they would make an action. So like if the right enemy is very close to Kindle, it'll enter its attack state. And then once that attack state is played out, it would turn to its chase state and so on. Same thing for the eye drop. When Kindle's below, it'll shoot its laser, and then there's a cooldown period so that it doesn't spam lasers, because that'll get annoying very fast. The lasers are very powerful. But yeah, they all work on state machines essentially.
Okay, next question. Did you have the lore planned out from the start, or did the story write itself throughout the process?
So Kindle is actually from I have the original theme was a dream world kind of thing. So Koro, let's see if I can pull it up. Koro actually comes from the real world. He fell asleep and then he woke up in the dream world and then immediately started causing trouble. So a lot of that was planned beforehand. Kindle is actually a character from another one of my projects that never got to see the light. So I figured I may as well just pull that from there and use it in this, because I really like her design, especially the pants. The pants are really cool. I'll just start pants anyway. But yeah, a lot of the lore stuff was planned out ahead of time. The junkyard theme we came up with during development, because that wasn't really established until like sprint two out of 4. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Someone on YouTube asks, how was it for the artists to work with each other?
Do you all want to elaborate on that, or?
Well, for me, I mean, I was kind of in my own little world as far as enemy designs, so I guess there really wasn't too much conflict with me. I can't speak for the others though.
Since Aiden and I both did environment art, it was more back and forth between the two of us, and also being like, Isaiah, does this look okay-ish? Mostly because of the color things we were talking about. So there was just a lot of try this, this works, okay, you did that, good job. So I think once we got into the groove of things, there was also a Google Doc I made where whenever we were brainstorming, I took notes and just dropped a bunch of photos from Google, kind of like our own Pinterest board. So I think that kind of helps to be able to go back and not have to remember everything and be okay, yeah, and then I can just message them on Discord. So since we just kind of went with the flow, it was pretty easygoing. I hope Aiden will say the same.
Yeah, definitely. We kind of shared a color palette to work from, and one of the important things Isaiah stressed for the background assets was a reduction in the number of colors used in a single asset, so that really helped.
Yeah, it helps from a organization standpoint. So if we want to change colors later, we don't have to go back and we can do effects and stuff like that, but you'll lose some of some of the charm or some of the detail that was there originally than if we just have a limited palette and then adjust these colors individually. I did want to add to what Taheer said, and I guess for all the artists, really, everybody, I did like provide a lot of feedback. I hope I wasn't like too much. I apologize if I was. I did like try to keep consistent feedback and say wherever stuff looked a little off, and try to make it so that the game looked as polished as possible. I mean, that wasn't like shouldn't have been the focus, but I think the game came out well because of it.
Got a question from YouTube. Do you have an example of integrating team feedback into Kindle's art or gameplay?
Art or gameplay, team feedback, art.
Something I randomly remember, I think, is the Maribot colors got tweaked, like after it was designed, just to. I think that was something that happened. But when we had our midway Arcata presentation.
Yeah. When I was making the sprites for Maribot, I found a dark color scheme, which it didn't. I don't think it went in. I think I changed the colors a little bit. But yeah, in messing with the colors, I did find some like cool stuff to go in. I think Ratas, I made the yellows more bright, and the pink I think a little more intense. In terms of gameplay, team feedback in the gameplay. I know me and David, we were talking about he mentioned before about the original collision system. Eventually, we settled on a more simple like retro style thing where it's just like a basic like short like cache check instead of using Unity's built-in rigid body systems. That, and then we discussed with each other about the Kindle's attributes like gravity and stuff like that, gravity and speed.
Yeah, I remember when we were originally trying to implement the movement. We both had different ideas. I wanted to use Unity's, of course, built-in widget body system. Isaiah wanted to go with the more what we called manual approach. And essentially, what we did was we both wrote our own movement systems, and then basically played with both of them. And then we eventually, ultimately, agreed to just go with Isaiah's implementation because it more so fit what we wanted out of the game. I was a little salty about it, but and working in team projects, you have to learn to swallow your pride and do what's best for the project, rather than oh, I want to implement everything and all that.
Okay, thank you so much, Project Kindle. Let's move on to our next and final game.